Hi, this is Luciana Paulise. Thank you very much, Divya Ghatak, for being with us today. You are with SentinelOne, and we'd like to know more about you, about the company, how well the company is doing, and all the work, the fantastic work you've been doing on the working from home culture. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi Luciana. Very happy to join you this morning. As you said, I'm the Chief People Officer for SentinelOne, a very innovative cybersecurity company, and I joined them last year. And the kind of growth and momentum that we have experienced is something I haven't experienced before in my career. I think it's once in a lifetime. And I think what has been, really heartening and amazing to see is that the focus on culture and people has been as much, if not more, than on, our growth and our, business momentum. So it's just great to see that. I think these are public facts. We have doubled our valuation and tripled our valuation all in the last
Wow.
16 months. So with that, I think some of the challenges that have come with it is, how do we continue to bring in amazing talent to keep up and also, add to the future growth? And how do we retain the amazing people who come and join us? And most importantly, how do we make sure that they have an amazing experience while they're here? And then the big curveball that hit not just us, but everybody around the world has been the pandemic, and then transitioning all of that to a remote work experience and delivering that experience and that connectivity, through being remote and not being in person. So that has been, I think, a huge learning in the past 18 months. And, this last year has just been full of those challenges. But I think just thanks to our culture and the kind of values we have and the kind of company we are, we've been able to rally and just grateful to have had the experience in a very challenging time.
Right. So you're a cybersecurity company, so your most important asset is your people, I guess, the knowledge of the people that develop these softwares that
Yeah,
you do.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Amazing.
And yeah,
And tell me more, you also raised $267 million. Is that right?
that is correct. That is very correct. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you are increasing your valuation a lot. That means a lot to the company, and well, that means that there's a future growth ahead, right? So you used to be working all in the same building.
Hmm.
How
So
many were you there before the
yeah,
pandemic? How many are you right now?
yeah, no, happy to talk about that. So I think as a company, we, historically have been a very globally distributed company.
Mm.
So as we started, before the pandemic, we were about, I would say 40% in Tel Aviv and Israel, and
Mm.
40% in the US, and 20% in Europe and Asia Pacific. We've sort of maintained that footprint. Now, in Tel Aviv, we were in the same building, but
Oh.
in the US, we have a pretty distributed workforce because a majority of the headcount in the US is our sales and go to market people who
Mm.
are by definition remote. And similarly, in Europe and Asia Pacific, we do have our headquarters in Mountain View, and then we have another site in Eugene, Oregon that has all our support and inside sales and customer success people who were also in the same building.
Mm.
And I think, like, when we started at the time of the pandemic, we were 500 people, and we've grown to almost 700 people by the end of this year. So we have hired a lot in each of those sites. And I think the way we have learned to form the connective tissue is by, really over communicating. I think when we said we are getting into this situation, our leadership team and our CEO said that, look, we want to be really in front of our people, we want to reassure them. And I think what really helped build trust is that when we started, in March, this pandemic hit us, we didn't know the impact it will have on our business. We didn't know how long it was going to last. But without understanding that, the first statement that, our CEO made to our employees is, we are here. We are going to do whatever we can to make sure that we support you through this transition, number one. And number two, whatever the situation unfolds, I will be here to talk to you very transparently about the impact on our business, the impact on our communities, and all of that. So we decided to have a monthly town hall for the whole company, from the leadership team, and each of the leaders, in addition, had their own functional meetings with everybody in their function. And then we did it for regions. So we just really put in very quickly an infrastructure where we were over communicating in a very transparent manner. That, I think, established a huge amount of trust for the teams to, say that these people are behind us, they're going to tell us, and we're going to figure this out together. Even our board was very much supportive of how do we support our employees in this period. And the first thing we did was, the first and foremost thing is employee safety. So we went into a complete remote operation even before the public guidances were issued. We were like, we don't care, your safety is paramount. Till we know more, everybody work from home. So I think these things really help build trust that, we were there to really advocate for the safety and well-being. We ran a lot of, remote well-being programs. So just, really the second, big pillar of this was around well-being.
What kind of programs?
Yeah. So, we try to do and have, really kept momentum around offering things as remotely as we can. And what has helped us with some of those programs is just adopting a lot of technology, right? So, for instance, we ran a virtual wellness challenge where we said, everybody record your steps and we will compete. So we gamified it. And we used a Slack channel to say that we're going to have different prizes and everybody share. And so what ended up happening was a huge adoption of the program. So people around the world, they were, taking pictures in Amsterdam, in Scotland, in Tokyo, in
Wow,
California, in
amazing.
Eugene, Oregon, and they were sharing pictures of how they were, walking. And so all of a sudden, you get this experience that you're looking at the daily lives of your colleagues. So it became even more personal than before the pandemic, right? Because there you are sort of very talking about like who's around you in the office, and suddenly you are connecting and, reacting to those experiences world over. And then very quickly, we also said we need to modify our benefits and what we are offering to adjust to this new reality. So
Okay.
parental support, I think, is really important as people with young children are working from home. So how do we provide, benefits and, help in some way to take care of increased childcare expenses, right? Some people wanted, we don't have kids, but we need more IT support at home. We need more equipment, or we need to pay for, extra internet, or whatever cost those are. So we issued like a wellness stipend, and you could use it for meals, you could use it for childcare, you could use it for enhanced IT, whatever your lifestyle demanded. So we put those in. We also did small things like send out care packages to our people to just know that we are here, we care about you, and all of that. And of course, if somebody felt sick, we really made sure they had the best healthcare possible, and really connected with them. And our people knew that if they wanted to take time off to address to the needs of their families or themselves in the unfortunate event of something like this happening. It was there. So we have unlimited time off in the US, but also in the other regions. We said you can take, there is, no limit to the time off you can take in the eventuality of, caring for your family and for yourself.
Right.
So
Many
those are some of
companies are
the things.
worried about that, right?
Yeah,
About, no, I still want you to take X amount of holidays, or a lot of companies I've seen that they're pushing people to take, their vacations before year end. And sometimes
yeah,
it's like, how can you're asking this with all,
right,
the people have been going through? Maybe they don't want to go on holidays right now, maybe they
right,
can't, or it's
right.
better that they don't go, right? So that they are home, and
Yeah,
giving this flexibility. Some may want more, some may want less, but it's flexibility is important.
exactly. Exactly. And I think the other thing the third thing we really focused on was mental health,
Hmm.
because truly this has impacted us in ways that we haven't seen before, right? I think
Right.
people are just dealing with a lot of mental health issues. So we instituted a mental health day off. We do
Hmm.
it, once or twice a quarter based on, what's going on. And then we got a lot of mental health experts to come in and talk to our people. We made
Hmm.
those resources available. And, through our virtual wellness fairs, we also did, yoga classes, meditation classes, mindfulness classes. So
Hmm.
we really focused on, and we still continue to focus on mental health, because I can see that, with my own family, with my own kids. I feel, just I feel bad for, they're on the computer a lot more, like all the time. That's how their learning is. And then they are chatting with their friends on the computer, and then they are playing video games. So, how do you make sure, like, just as you think of your workplace, you think of your family, how do you encourage people to go outside to the extent possible and keep that, that team connection going
Right.
is so important. It's just very hard. Like what I've seen, how people have been impacted. And, our team, one of our core values is also community. So we really feel so thankful to the first responders who've, had an amazing role to play. So we ran this campaign around the company where, we did a GoFundMe campaign to the first responders, and we made a video where people said thank you in their own language around all the different offices of the company. And when you do things like this together, it also builds a good sense of community, right? When you're
Right.
giving back,
Hmm.
you feel that sense of gratitude. And I think that, does goes a long way to creating community inside. And that resonates a lot with our people.
Right.
So we did that campaign, and, we put that video together. Happy to, share that with you. And now we are doing one around hunger, because the reality is that there are a lot of families going hungry in developed countries,
Right.
which I feel is, as I go to bed after a tired, day, and I have a big meal, and I have my family under the same roof, and I'm going to wake up to a really nice job and a really nice experience, there are families who are going to bed hungry. And that's
Hmm.
unacceptable, right? Like to
Yes.
me, I think I just care deeply about it. So I'm really glad that we are doing something with Feeding America and, other things across the globe to just contribute to that. So, I think we've rallied together as a company to build this community and not only take care of our own people, but because we feel we are so fortunate in everything that we have got in terms of company success, team success, awards and recognition, that we should give back and we should create a stronger community outside by, taking some of I would call it, it's definitely hard work, but also very blessed to receive that. And
Right.
we should give that outside, right? So I think that is something our people really rally around as well.
Right. So you mentioned several things. You mentioned core values. You mentioned also like gaming, so that you get the people, to connect to each other.
Yeah,
Those are great things. So you mentioned one core value community. You will have more core values. That
that's
helps
right.
you? Is that helping
Yes.
you?
Yeah, I think it, hugely helps us anchor our culture, and also as we are growing so much to, have that sense of identity and
Hmm.
culture, be strong as we continue this very rapid expansion, right,
Right.
and growth. So it's very important to articulate what defines our culture, and those are our core values. And they are around integrity and trust, community, and certainly around what we call one sentinel, which is one team working together towards a common mission and purpose. And the other value that our CEO and our leadership team really care about is accountability.
Hmm.
So taking ownership for your actions to your customers, your key stakeholders, your employees, your team members, your colleagues, just really standing up and being accountable. So culture of accountability is a very big thread that unites a lot of the initiatives that we have. And
Right. And regarding accountability, do you use a coach to help you with that? Because in many companies they have accountability coaches that help people one on one to achieve that. Because working from home sometimes can be difficult. Not everyone can adapt to that. Do you offer that,
we
or?
do.
Mhm.
We do, not for each and every person, but I think that is something we did decide to do, as and when people need it and
Mhm.
ask for it. But the way we have used it is really up level the role of the manager as a coach. And the leadership team just leads by example in being available and being there, and creating a very open culture where people can ask questions, people can ask anything from where is the company headed, what's going on, what are your thoughts. And we just this morning did a seminar on the value of stock options. What does it mean? What does it mean to exercise? Where is SentinelOne headed? And I think 400 people had logged on to that seminar, and our
Wow.
general counsel led that. So it's just being, I think it's creating an atmosphere where you can go up to your leadership, your managers, and they are very reachable and accessible. So, you are really creating that culture where the manager and the leaders and your teammates play that very supportive and active role. And, you are there for others as well. So that is, I think, like, how we have navigated this, and hope to do in the future as well.
Wow. Yes. And how do you talk a bit about that, how you transfer all those core values, all these, well, you have this training, but how do you do that for the new hires? You have hired 200 people remotely, and I bet a lot of companies are dealing with that, are struggling with that. Do you have any tips on how to do that, how to keep
Yeah.
communicating the culture for everyone?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So we certainly have that imbibed into our onboarding program,
Mm.
but I think it is, it's making the culture come alive on a regular basis, right? In a real way. So, for instance, if one of your core values is community, and you're actively doing something every couple of months where you will engage your people, you'll have a competition, you'll have a Slack channel, you'll talk about it. I think that is how the culture comes alive personally. I think you have to walk your talk and, live it in a very real way. If one of your core values is one sentinel, then you have to do team oriented activities. And that's how people become part of it. And even when you're very new, you get drawn into it, right? So I think it's by really creating ongoing experiences, programs, and initiatives where you actually live it. right? So I think no amount of talk where, a senior leader comes in and says, our core values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you shall live those it doesn't matter, right? What matters is that you're living those values and you're creating experiences that reflect those values, and you are
Exactly.
rewarding and recognizing people who are role models for those values. And people see that. So, for instance, just before the pandemic hit, we had our sales kickoff in Tel Aviv, where our whole, majority, I would say 90% of our company traveled to Tel Aviv for the sales kickoff. And as part of that, one thing we did was we did recognition not only for our salespeople, but we did like founder awards and awards around our core values for, that covered the whole company, every function. And what was, something very unique to me was when somebody was being recognized for a particular award, the rest of the people had more, like there was more happiness in the, like in the audience for the person who was receiving the award, which really meant that, we resonate those values in our team, and people feel that the right people are getting recognized, and there is that, joy of someone else's success.
Right. And
um,
fairness.
Yes,
Hmm.
correct. Exactly. So to me, that was, when I was seeing the person, feel good and feel recognized and brought on the stage, and, you get that recognition. But then I saw like how happy the room was, and how proud their colleagues and teammates, and they were more excited than the award recipients themselves.
Wow. That's good. And how do you grow diversity? Because diversity inclusion has been a big subject this year, and it should be. It should be because, especially in a company like yours, where knowledge is important, there are many papers that show that diversity is not only good for the people, but it's also good for the company because you get new ideas, right? You get different
Absolutely.
people bringing different points of view, especially if you have people in different countries, in different parts of the globe, right? So how are you dealing with that? Well, I think the fact that you are a woman, well, that you're a woman, it's good. It's a good sign. It's like you're living the culture, right? But what else are you doing to grow this diversity?
Yeah. So I do think that, that's an issue that we can do a lot better on, not just us, but, corporations around the world.
Hmm.
I think
Right.
it's there is a huge gap that exists in terms of, diversity and inclusion. So while we are, much ahead of the cybersecurity companies,
Hmm.
I think this week we are going to get an award where we're going to be recognized for diversity. But I feel that still that's not enough, right?
Hmm.
So I think even if our representation is much better than other cybersecurity companies, I think the underlying problem is so grave. If you look at boards, if you look at management teams, if you look at just gender representation, period, there is a huge gap. And I think we as leaders need to do something, very, very dramatic. So a few things we have done is there is an organization called Women in Cybersecurity. So they have a lot of targeted initiatives around alleviating this problem in cybersecurity. So we have become one of their leading sponsors, and we have many initiatives that are going to be announced in January
Hmm.
around that. The second thing
Can you
that,
tell something?
yeah.
A surprise or something that you can say now?
Yeah, yeah. And then internally in Tel Aviv, a lot of our female technology leaders, what they really care about doing is being role models for girls in schools, in high schools and colleges to choose technology as a profession. So
Mm.
we have an initiative, around that. I just hired a VP of Talent Acquisition, Diversity and Inclusion, and her charter is going to be to, really focus on that. But as we have hired people, I think we always want to make sure that the talent pools we are looking at are, diverse and inclusive. So we have hired, 3 women VPs recently in the past, 9 months. So that has been, a source of joy for me. But clearly, I think that this is such a grave issue that
Mhm.
I feel that we are, far from being done,
Yeah,
and there are a
especially in
lot
that
of things.
area. I've seen that
Absolutely,
many companies in Mountain
absolutely.
View area, they are mostly about 95%
Yeah,
men, most of them
yeah,
white, so
yeah,
barely some women, barely some
absolutely.
Hispanics or Black community.
Correct.
So it's hard to believe that there's no one out there that can cover
It
those
is.
positions, right?
It is. And I think it's people are not willing to do the extra work to make
Mhm.
sure that you are looking at a diverse pool, to make sure you're
Right.
accessing a diverse pool, to make sure that you understand what those issues are, right? To even understand,
Hmm.
how we can onboard, offboard, and, people in different stages of their lives.
Right.
Just because you go through an experience, it doesn't change what you're going to do. And I also sit on the board of an organization called Watermark, which is a nonprofit dedicated to increasing the number of women in leadership. So I brought some programs with Watermark in as well into Sentinel One to make sure that we are doing our part not only within Sentinel One but to the broader community. We are just addressing it as an issue. But this is going to be a very big topic for us in the
Hmm.
coming year, and you'll hear more from us because there is a lot that we need to do over there for sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. Keep us with all this information. We are looking forward always to communicate what um, pioneers like you are doing, so that other companies can copy you and can work on that same direction. As you said, it's a big big gap for many companies, especially in this area. So thank you very much. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to say, or
No, I'm just, as I said before, just very honored to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear our story. And if I can be of any help, I'd love to. So this is my favorite. You talked about some of my favorite topics. So really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
wonderful. This is a great starting point for many companies. So thank you very much, Divya, for sharing your knowledge. And well, you'll hear from me soon where you get to access to this information, to this
Okay,
article. Thank you very
awesome.
much.
Thank you so much, Luciana. Thank you, Jake. Hope this was useful.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Divya. This is awesome. Luciano, I'll stay on.